Hey guys, welcome back to Small Trees. I know it's been a while, but sometimes life, just happens. But I've been peeking into next year to see what my schedule will look like, and it's pretty packed. So I'm going to actually start my spring work in December. And hear me out, I know that sounds a little stupid, but last year during the spring, right as my pomegranates were budding out, we had like one day and it was in the 20s, and all of my pomegranates died back. Some of them died back to the base, some of them died back just a little, but I was lucky not to lose any. And I don't want that to happen again. I have a lot of cuttings that have rooted this year. So I'm going to start here in the next week or so working those pomegranates, usually the smaller ones, and I'm going to have them. The main goal is going to be to get them into pots so that I can move them into the greenhouse if I need to. And I'll try to save the larger ones for later if I can. And then I'll kind of, during the weekends, I will work the trees that I can. And I have a lot, so it should be pretty interesting. I actually filmed another intro for this, but my mic was kind of fuzzy, and I realized when I saw the footage that I desperately need to shave, so I'm just going to leave that part out. Instead, what I'm going to do, I was looking through my camera and I found some work that I never posted, and a couple of these trees are going to be ones that I am working sooner rather than later. So I'm going to go ahead and show you the work on these trees, and then that way you'll be kind of refreshed when I show them here in a couple weeks. I really hope you enjoy. Thank you guys for watching, and thank you for the kind comments. That really do mean a lot. Okay, so I did a little bit of weeding and cleared up the area. I do have a bunch of little tiny seedlings. You can see one, where are we pointing? Over here, yeah, there we go. A bunch of little seedlings around here from ones I started last year, and I ran out of space, so I just threw them in here. So I kind of got to be careful when I'm pruning or weeding. But I cleaned up the area and I've looked at it for a minute, and here's what I think I want to do. The Navarre is not great, but it's not terrible. On the back side, it has not a whole lot. It's got one decent root, and it's got a crossing root that'll need to be removed. So this front that you can see here is probably the best, or maybe rotated this way just a little bit. But I think that the best look for this tree is going to be to remove this trunk down to probably this little branch, which you can't really see because of the soil, and possibly that might be a first branch or something like that. This is going to give the tree some nice movement this way, and it'll have a first branch, because otherwise we're going to have a big scar here to heal. So what I'm going to do first is make a chop on both of these just to make it easier to handle, and then I'll worry about carving out this later. Interestingly enough, on this tree, a lot of times you do have branches that look sort of like this, but this one has, I don't know if you can see because they're all facing this way, has the branches are actually almost like thorns, like a pomegranate. The newer ones, especially up higher, they're actually pretty pointy, which is interesting. So let me go ahead and make a couple quick cuts, and then we will try to dig this thing up. I have no idea what the root situation is on this, but that's what we will find out here in just a minute. We're obviously going to need a lot of growth from this to clean up the wound down here. So I'm not sure how low I should cut. We've got a node on the back side. You can kind of see here. I don't think that's what we would use for the new leader, but it's possible. I'm just gonna make another general cut up here, make this into a horseshoe, and then we'll figure the rest out in a minute. Just somewhere random up here is fine. Ow. Just hit myself in the back of the head with the teeth of the saw when I threw that, but I'm not bleeding, so it's okay. All right, so now we get to go around the base. I can see this is gonna be trouble. You can see these roots are an inch. There's one in the back that's even larger. So I imagine this is going to be pretty difficult to dig. I don't know what it's buried under. Probably, yeah, it is metal. It is metal. And I wonder if this soil, this specific spot, I guess, is mainly turfus, as you can see. I wonder if that had anything to do with the growth rate of it compared to some of the ones that are behind it just a little bit. I'm not really sure, but it's definitely possible. So I'm gonna, I know this is a little optimistic, but I'm gonna take the root saw and I'm gonna go around the edges and I'm just gonna see. It may be that what I imagine is that these grew to the edge of that metal plate and then went straight down. So I'm gonna have a lot of cleaning up to do, but let's see what it looks like. Oh yeah, this is gonna be a doozy. Zoom me out just a little bit. This tree right here that's kind of in the way is a sweet gum, and they're interesting because their bark flakes up as it grows. I want to take a second while I'm thinking about this and try to show you. So this tree, it looks a lot like a maple with the leaves. This grew voluntarily and I just haven't cut it. But as they grow, let me see if I can pick up the camera. But as they grow, they will get this sort of bark on them, and that'll end up covering the whole tree. It's kind of cool looking. They're interesting for bonsai, but the problem is that the leaves are pretty big. They don't reduce very well, and the nodes, the internodes, are very long generally. So you have to have a bigger tree in order for it to look believable as a bonsai. So I like sweet gum. That's why I haven't cut this down yet, but I probably will soon. All right, let's keep going around the tree. I think I'm gonna have to use some clippers of some sort to get this out, but we'll see as we go. This is the new root saw that I ordered because my other one was about to break. I do not want to break this on the first tree of the day, so I'm going to try to be as careful as I can. These things are usually good for about a year of root work before they start breaking down. Sometimes, once in a while, the blade will break, or this little joint here, this little metal, I don't know the term for it, but it'll come loose and then the blade is not really fixed in the handle. And I don't have anything to really fix that with, so the things are $7 or $8 on Amazon. So I just order new ones. Let's see. So every large root I think it's still intact. I'm gonna have to grab some like not hedge trimmers, but like branch clippers or something similar and go through and cut those. So I'm gonna cut for just a minute and do that, and come back when I've got it out of the ground. All right, so that took me a little longer than I wanted or expected, but it was very much overgrown under. So I've got to remove all of this basically to get this on a flat plane so we can even begin to evaluate it. So I'm gonna take a few minutes, cut all these big roots off and see if I can get this flat, and then we will take our first real good looks at it. All right, so it started to rain a little bit outside, so I had to move this inside. I went ahead and removed enough of the roots that I could take the metal piece off of the bottom. You can see it's still not flat, and we still got a lot of big roots, mainly this one, and this one, that need to be shortened considerably if we're, you know, keeping in mind that this wants to go in a pot, you know, in a few years. We want to have the smaller roots start a lot closer to the base, so we need to remove a lot of the big roots here, which I'm gonna do. I'm not gonna do it on camera. I am going to use these and probably my larger branch cutters. And I said earlier that I was trying to evaluate if the trees, you know, would be okay to sell. Obviously this one's not. We don't have a good feeder root in the distribution around the base here, and I wouldn't be able to sell this in good conscience this year. I think we'll be fine, but again, I would want to make sure. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to reduce these big roots so that we can get this flat and have our root base start, you know, a whole lot closer here. And then I believe what I'm going to do is shorten. Let me zoom in a little for you, just a little bit. Okay, so this trunk is going to go back, probably like I said earlier, to this, and then if we want to introduce some taper and make this tree a whole lot better in a year, we'll get rid of this, and then we have this branch, which is not very clear right now because there's a lot of crossing branches going on right here, but this will be a good short movement section. So we would have this, we'd have the slight movement this way, we'd have a slight movement back this way, and then we would have this continue going up, and it would add some subtle movement to the tree, which would be nice. So that's going to be the next step after I shorten these roots. So I'll see you in just a few minutes. This is just a lot of grunt work. I'll be back in just a minute. Okay, so I've reduced the roots. I would really like to get them a little bit closer, but there are not many feeder roots, and so I was trying to leave what I can. Not perfect, but it will be okay. What I did as well is I reduced this guy down here. I just did some clumsy wiring here to pull what I want to be the first branch out of the way so I could cut this without damaging it. What I need to do now is cut somewhere in, sorry. So what I need to do now is cut from in here up to the junction in here. So I want to angle it slightly. It's not going to be much of an angle because of where the trunks separate, but I need to work that. So I'm going to just gnaw at this with tools, because if I went much lower, I was going to definitely harm this branch, which I did not want to do. So I'm going to try to cut from here up to in here, And then we're going to remove this down to this branch, and you'll be able to see hopefully what I see when I get done with that. So I'm gonna chew on this a little bit and see if I have all the tools that I need. I usually don't. I know, I'm gonna start this by looking for the knob cutters. Be right back. Okay, so I cannot find my knob cutters. Alright. I keep misplacing the knob cutters. I don't know where I put them, and you really need them to do a proper cut on this. So this is probably going to be a little less than ideal, but we're going to work at it anyway. I have really small knob cutters, but I need bigger ones for this. So let me do my best with what I've got here. And it, like I said, it is going to be a little bit clumsy. We'll try to just chew away most of this and then we'll clean it up. So I'll start with the large branch cutters. You could use the splitters, but I don't recommend it because these are very good for roots and stuff, but what they do is they cut right through whatever you're cutting, and they usually tend to split it. So if you're trying to remove a large root, it's pretty good, but if you're trying to do something that's a little more precise, you are taking a big risk that you're going to split that trunk. So don't want to use those. We're just going to have to, like I said, we're just going to have to do our best here. And I'll just try to take as much as I can with these and just do this in pieces. This is one thing you can do if it's too large. You can kind of cut a groove and then use these splitters, and then it won't split. It'll just cut across the line that you've already kind of made. So that's one method. Okay, so this angle is slightly above what the viewing angle is, so it's not quite what the tree will look like. You'll be looking at it from a little bit lower, but we have two options. We could leave this one that's going towards you as the leader, and it would create more of a cutback this way, but I want movement that way. So I'm going to cut this. And here's where the little knob cutters are a lot more useful. You can just get rid of this little bulge here, like that. And then whenever that heals over, it should not stick out at all. Now we have a viewing angle somewhere in here. May rotate one way or the other slightly, but what we should have is this. I'm not entirely happy about. I wish it had more taper, but we'll have a first branch here, and then we have this short movement in this direction. We'll let this grow and thicken, and then we'll select probably this first bud to go back this way and kind of straighten up the image. So it will overall be pretty balanced. Right now it looks a little weird, I know, but that will clear up in the next year or so. All that's left for me now is to seal these cuts, and I'm going to plant it back in the garden and leave it alone for the rest of the year, because it has been definitely worked very hard today. So this is one of the trees that, I mean, it's got promise. It's big. A lot of people like big, but that doesn't mean good. But next year you'll really be able to see the difference that this made. If I could do anything differently, I would angle this. I would angle it away from you guys, but I'd really make this come down lower, because it would, right now this is going to be a gigantic first branch when this all you know, comes together, but you have to kind of deal with what you're given. So this is how I want to do it. So I'm just going to seal up these cuts, put it back in the ground, and we will revisit it probably next year. I might peek back at it during the year, but I'm not going to mess with it again until at least next year, depending on how it looks. So that is going to be it for today. We've turned a very large tree into a very small tree. And I hope you guys have a good day. Until next time.